Hello everybody and welcome today, and I apologize for any glitches in the sound quality of this video or the video part of the video, and I'm just going to get to my message right now. And I'm just going to say, for Justin Trudeau, you're not going to continue to keep pulling this deception over Canadians. Canadians are very well aware of the kind of government and the kind of forces behind the government that you are installing onto Canadians, and the kind of environment that Canadians are dealing with under your government. And quite frankly, the gig is up. Canadians don't want to fall for it anymore. They don't want to fall for these excuses of these agendas that you're pushing, these situations that we are living in, these fake benefits that are supposed to help us, while in every other way we are being ripped off and our futures are being taken right from our very hard work and right before our eyes. And for the many people who have immigrated to Canada and countries like Canada, what you're doing with the nation, or at least what forces are behind you, the person who's representing the style of government that right now Canada is dealing with, and for quite some time, basically the very beginnings of the government, which is now leading to more tyranny, which is leading to the resurgence of oppression onto minorities, and not just based on race, but making everybody in our nation a minority, making everybody in our nation lose their voice, not be able to have a community, to be dependent on a system that is, quite frankly, robbing the good citizens blind. And for years, I have been making videos and I have been voicing myself out as a person, as well with the fears and the scrutiny that people like me deal with voicing ourselves out, by trying to inform a community of what is happening today with our governments, what is happening today with our laws, to analyze these changes a little bit better, for people to question everything. And that's one of my main messages with this video, and most of my videos, basically all my videos that are of this nature, is for people to begin to question everything. Right now, with this COVID thing, we understand that there's a lot of restrictions on our movement, on the ability for us to be able to get together and share in the way that we should be, and the way that we have taken for granted in the past and we have not appreciated, and we have not. It's not to say that because we didn't do it in the past, because we didn't appreciate it, that today we deserve to lose it. In many ways, many ideas, especially with the idea of liberalism, or the liberal idea, is that if you don't defend your liberties, you'll lose your liberties. You deserve none. If you're willing to give up your liberty for safety, you deserve none. I don't want to live also in that sort of extreme mentality that if I'm not a patriot 100% of the time, that I'm going to lose my rights, I'm going to lose my world. I want to be able to rest. I want to be able to trust in the system that my forefathers have helped build, and I am helping build right now, especially from a family of immigrants who has well been in this continent for a very long time. In fact, my culture was the very first people officially. So my family in this continent goes back very far, and I understand that in a country like Canada, or in the United States, or a country similar to that, that is not the country I'm originally from, that I am a guest, that I am a person that is an immigrant. But I'm also aware that here we got these things of human rights, as well as in my country, but I have immigrated to this country. And here we got things of equality, of all inclusiveness, of defending human rights and defending people's speech and beliefs and homosexuality orientations. And to come and see this, I don't want to live anymore in a country where I will never be able to buy a piece of property no matter where I go, to where I want to knock a tree down, or I have to knock a tree down and I got no neighbors around me, where I have to contract someone and have someone come in and basically pay an excess amount of money just to cut down a tree. I don't want any more bylaws dictating the way that we have our lives, the ability to have our animals. If people are being responsible to remove these restrictions that these bylaws are imposing, especially in many cities in Canada, where there's so much land, so much opportunity, and people are so limited. And right now with this COVID thing, combined with the existing laws, some people got absolutely no freedom whatsoever, and to be scrutinized and to be made fun of and to be called a conspiracy theorist or some sort of conservatist or some sort of person who because they believe in hunting or they believe in owning a gun or whatever beliefs they have, or even Christian beliefs, or what they were calling conservatism today, where a person is patriotic and they're racist even for believing in the ideologies. I don't want to be scrutinized like that anymore, to the point where when I'm questioning things, I'm being now insulted. And it's not just me. This is everybody right now. I'm just the one voicing it out. I'm the one saying that this is how I view it through my eyes. This is not about me. This is about everybody. But this is how everybody is suffering right now. And I'm just voicing it out as well through what I see. So I'm not trying to be selfish and saying just me. The exact reason why I'm making these videos where monetization is being turned off, with your channels are being censored, is so that it can reach the community that I have, so that we can begin to share and we can begin to do something about these kind of situations that we are dealing with in our countries, and specifically for a country like Canada and what it's dealing with, and the kind of laws and bylaws and the kind of law enforcement that currently it has, and the way that people can be criminalized in more than just having a criminal record, where your criminal record becomes every single police stop, every single altercation that you have had, where there's a profile built on you before you even start your life, is completely disrespectful. Where the Canada has such extreme laws, just like in the UK right now and the United States, and we don't understand why these similar countries have it. And it's probably because of the culture and how these legislations influence each other, or governments or Congress or whatever it be. They act the same. We got different bodies of laws, we got different representative systems that represent us, but it all kind of is influenced the same, with the differences of tax, the way our military works, the way our language is spoken, but it's all kind of in a way the same. They all act the same. And yes, our governments in the English world work together. And those are a different thing, but it's how right now we got laws that can affect our families so extremely, specifically in a place like Canada, where you can get your child taken away for anything. If you have a social worker that can have any bias, an untrained professional, a person who claims they're a professional, or a system that's trying to say it's professional, and this person has a bias against you, where you can have your children removed, where a teacher can make a profile on your child, where your child can be driven into testing, where you can be convinced into putting your child into oppressive situations, and if you disagree, you can have your child taken away, or you can have yourself scrutinized, or you can be prevented in taking care of a child in your family that needs that care, to the point where children that need care in your family and you can provide it, you are not being allowed to do it. And right now in the UK, they're censoring people from being able to share these things, and Canada's going down that same route, where you can have a social worker terrorize your family, have so much biases, and they will tell you that you cannot record when you can, and you should record. And even if there's laws saying that you cannot, you always should. If you are getting your human rights violated, you have to defend that. You have to be assertive. And that's the thing with questioning everything. Right now with COVID, people are getting this where they don't question anything. They're quiet. They're looking straight, just like the horse that has the veil is looking forward. We cannot live like that, especially if we want to claim that we are living in free countries. And right now, what Canada is dealing with is censorship beyond belief. Right now, this video that will be shared by people who view this on my channel, and even on my channel, the kind of characters that follow channels like this, where you have blocks on videos like this, where you have characters that have subscribed to your channel, bots that have subscribed to your channel, and is preventing you from sharing these things. So that is tyranny right there, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't understand it. That is to the point where people are taking away your speech, your ability to share. And now with COVID, anything can be made up. I'm watching some videos in China where people are not walking a specific way, or they don't have their child in a specific way. And I seen this video, I didn't understand it too well. And excuse me if I get any misinformation on it, but the woman wasn't walking in a particular way, and she got fed up with the police. She said, listen, man, like this is insane. Like, I'm walking and protecting my child. And the police, in order to protect, I guess, the community or her child, found the need to basically assault her in front of her child, to separate her from her child. And places like China, where I believe this is from, a woman, for just doing that, for just having a disagreement with the police, for disagreeing, even anybody, they can be taken away possibly for the rest of their life away from their child. I'm not just talking about the child, I'm talking about just for disagreeing, just for having an opinion. You can disappear for the rest of your life in an internment camp. Where outside these internment camps, there's a rumor to have suicide nets. So if people try to jump out to commit suicide from these internment camps, they can't. Not even death can come to them, unless the people who are oppressing them choose it. And quite frankly, conspiracy theory or whatever they want to brand us or label us, when people begin to get a hold of that kind of information, we see that our governments are following down patterns like what China is right now, how we are teaching in our schools extreme socialism and communism, calling people racist and fascist for having not just beliefs, but certain lifestyles, color of skin. I am not personally 100% white, or do I believe in an ideology where I believe that my skin color or something, like how they try to make me feel for believing and just wanting freedom. Okay, just so that I can throw it out there, I am not like this white person who wants, like a white world. Just so you know, I'm not making this video because I'm trying to be racist or I'm trying to exclude people. I come from another country. I speak a different language from the English language. I come from a language in a country where there's a lot of different skin colors and multiculturalism and struggles and its own version. So to say that a person like me is racist, that's absolutely not the case. But that is how they make us feel. And today, to have this sort of environment where people are trying to speak, people are trying to share, people are trying to communicate, and you're branded racist, you're branded this, and I'm seeing a lot of it coming directly from what is now directly on YouTube, our commercials, our movies, our music, our influence, the people, the stars that are in these shows and these concerts, these music people who are singing in these bands, who influence our kids, who are connected to industries, the enterprises where these people are together, like Hollywood, for example, and they make shows where your kids follow this stuff, and if parents are not careful, your kids are following ideologies that have nothing to do with how you want to raise your kids. And then these people also convince you that, this is what you want too. But if you actually look at it closely, you're losing your world. And as you might find benefit after being manipulated and going with that, you're going to eventually realize, or you may not never realize, how terrible your world is actually becoming, and you gain a little benefit while everybody around you is not doing good. And if you believe in this modern socialism and all these movements that they're making us believe in, about all sharing and inclusiveness, that is completely hypocritical. That is training people how to be completely ignorant, while a robotic zombie-like system is making people capitulate in a way that is so stupid. Like, people are questioning things, and these people are wrong. People are finding cures, and these people are wrong. People are finding ways for cleaner energy, and these people are wrong. While at the same time, they're pushing all this ideas of clean energy and conservation, all inclusiveness. It's kind of how communism is. We're trying to save you while we're not. We're trying to, protect your city while we're not. We're trying to give you more jobs and more freedom while we're not. So it's basically like telling the child that yeah, we're totally gonna go for a walk, but in reality you're preparing him for bed. You're just kind of waiting for the child to just kind of get more tired, and that is still lying to your child. People do it all the time, but I'm talking about lying to a nation and oppressing them, not just not taking your child for a walk, but literally what I'm saying, what they do to society when communism is actually installed. And to think that they're actually actively in schools teaching these ideas, saying that communism was good in Russia and that it took care of all these bad peasants that were just contaminating the lands. It's like what we supposedly fought Hitler against. This idea of this eugenics and population control and superior master races and ideas that control, people with this master race idea. That's what communism was, and that's what communism still is. And it's pretty damn cultural if you look at it. It's not just a multicultural thing. It's usually adopted by nations with a single culture, like Russia, China, and they install a different kind of culture, which is a totalitarian culture where your god is someone on a poster who overwatches you and does anything to you if you question. Quite frankly, by disarming Canadians, by removing their voice and doing all this stuff that when you see people who make videos from the United States, and I've been a person who's been pretty big on that, making videos about Constitution and our rights, self-preservation. A lot of what the United States is it's in its very constitution. Canada has it too, and the majority of all countries in the West. And that's the point of Hollywood itself, is to begin to break that down, is to begin to remove these notions from people that are actually not notions, but are actually built into the very fabric of the existence of these nations themselves when it comes to the governmental body, where a judge, where a police officer, where the people of the highest power and money will pay a lawyer to just basically use that to defend themselves, as well as a lot of corrupt things, and as well as a lot of payoffs, of course. Well, we have so much bureaucracy where we are simply allowed to get off, not have to pay this fine, not have to pay this tax. We are forced into it, and if we resist, we can have so much done to us. And I'm telling you that in Canada, the organized crime, a lot of it from the very top, and this is no secret anymore amongst our citizens. And no matter how much they try to keep it, as well in the United States, and a lot of what governs a lot of our Western world, unfortunately, our mafias or crime systems are connected to our very government. That's how they get laws passed. That's how they get ideas and movements and experimental stuff, even the experimental drugs. A lot of our drugs that we do today were basically ushered in by the very system that's governing the United States right now. The very system that pushes this freedom around the world that we're supposed to have. That is intense. And that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with right now, that in our very systems, we got our intelligence not working to defend our countries. They defend our countries, yes, but they actively work to keep our countries in check, experimenting on our people, using our people with this idea of a utopia of peace and sharing. But in reality, it's just experimentation. You see, as every immigrant, society comes from different countries, as I was part of that wave at a certain point, we are to replace the people of the past. So the people who have this notion of freedom and all this stuff and free speech, every new generation of immigration begins to change that. And often the people who are coming to these modern countries to enjoy the wonders of what we're building here and what we fought big wars for in the UN and all this stuff so that we can have today, all these stuff that we have formed and fought for and fought against, these people are actually actively having their countries turned inside out by our very own systems. That's what our intelligence does. And they even say it in the movies. Go Netflix. They even say it in their commercials, bragging about it. The CIA works to destabilize foreign countries. They make a joke out of it. They're even making like a joke on Venezuela right now, saying that this Maduro guy and all this. We understand that Venezuela and Maduro, but it's just like the Middle East, this boogeyman that we're supposed to go hunt. And the idea they've had on Mexico, and yes, it's successful. They do land grabs. You're able to topple entire kingdoms and empires out in Europe to install the UN and this European Union of absolute theft, onto these good nations. And what's interesting about where I immigrated from is that it's multicultural, like you wouldn't believe. It's everybody, but we're also part of this European world. It's like the United States. But what's cool is that where I come from, where I was born, is that we have all this patriotism, but at the same time for everybody, every skin color. And the thing is that when we immigrate to this country and we see the kind of patriotisms that it has, it's really confused. And then the system talks about all this inclusiveness and all this stuff, and it's really manipulated. It's actually really twisted. We're beginning to witness more racism in the big cities that have so much inclusiveness than actually in small towns where people have their thing. And that's what people are repeating to me when they come out of those small towns. That's what they're saying. That's what someone was telling me today earlier. That it's like they make us look like we're like these hillbillies that are like toothless, and it's racist. Quite frankly, it's racist. Like to feel like I got white skin, but I'm not even of like the exact European culture, and to feel that scrutiny, and also being raised in a country from when I was young, I was spat on for being from a different culture. So I've experienced racism and stuff like that, but I've also seen what the racism is. It's just people that are confused, just people who didn't know what they were doing, and a lot of it was coming from our very movies. So as these movies are talking about all inclusiveness, they're saying, oh, the bad Mexicans and what they've done, and the Cubans and the African gangs and the bad Germans and the French and how dirty they are. It's like all this stuff came exactly from the television I was watching, and then to date, that very television is saying that we got to be all inclusive in this. It's almost like what, like setting us up, bringing all this violence, all this trouble to our eyes, and then people are acting upon it, creating these gangs and following these influences, and then saying, see, this is how violent the society is. You know what I'm saying? This is why we got to change it. This is why we got to install an extreme communism. And that's where they want to brand us conspiracy theorists. It's not conspiracy theory or whatever the heck they want to brand us with. It's what we can see for ourselves. This is what we are actually experiencing right now. And to think that I make this video to share with you guys, this is a video that in the past, like videos like these have been shared, but YouTube is actively going out now with Facebook and saying that we're going to censor these videos, and as well with algorithms and this and that. Well, they're beginning to just push their stuff. Like every suggestion on the videos is their stuff, and that's good. They're a corporation, they're a company. But the thing is that they're making us believe that this is about free speech, that this is about sharing, but in reality, it's actually damaging to us. They're actually forcing us onto these platforms, questioning us when we don't take this information, when we don't do it their way. Stand behind the science, where we got things like Greta Thunberg, where we got this COVID, where we got people saying respect the health workers, to the point where everybody who's not a health worker or a police officer during this COVID is some sort of scumbag that's a potential threat to the world. You know what I'm saying? And that's how easily they can just make stuff up. And that's why people got to begin to question things. During this COVID thing, when is things going to be restored to normal? You're going to buy a house. Why am I paying this much? Why am I paying this much for things? I want to make a complaint. Okay, there's no complaints. Well, I want to begin to see where we can begin to make complaints. All right, I'm going to speak to my community. We got to make complaints. And then now with this COVID thing, the 2-meter rule, how long is this going to last? It's way too convenient that our governments for decades have been hounding us and pounding us down to the point where now this COVID thing is happening, and nobody can function without government oversight. Okay, governments don't cure diseases and prevent these things from happening. In reality, they help cause these things to spread by looking at the results of the past. They're not trying to save populations entirely. What they're doing is allowing populations to be affected so that they can begin to install laws, so that they can begin to install things that are, quite frankly, removing our lives, quite frankly, keeping us from functioning. And yes, offering certain benefits in this, while everything is full of surveillance, while everything is full of interventions where you cannot have freedoms, you cannot have privacies, where to the point where you begin to question these things, and now you're some sort of like domestic terrorist. And you got to see some of the laws that were installed in the United States and what is in Canada, and how intelligence, or whatever you call it, and whatever investigation agencies we have here in the West, how they can affect people for their opinions, how easily we can be on blacklists and investigations, how the information and everything that we take in is like fraud, and we're not allowed to question it. But at the same time, we're taught all the time that we have all this freedom. That's where it's the most oppressive, because it's not someone just going, shh. It's basically a system where you can't really see it. You can't really see it for yourself. It's like you have to be snapped out of it. You have to be woken up. And while you're trying to do that, that's where the system tries to break down and brand you all sorts of things, insult you. And if you get too intense, there's more methods in order to silence you. And if we don't begin to speak out, that's the kind of environment we're going to have, to where we're going to have literally someone putting their hand over our mouths, and even worse, where we can easily become meat in an internment camp, just slaving away. And our kids are being taught that this is okay. And even if your very own parent says something against this, that you have the right to report your own parent. That is what these social distancing laws were installing, and are still installing, and are going to get worse if we don't begin to question things. And very soon it's going to be to the point where they say, hey man, we're here to protect you. And we're going to do whatever we want to you. And this is for your protection. Already, that's how social services in Canada works. Already, that's how a lot of our criminal system works, or criminal code. This is a lot of how our police system works, to the point where a person can't even look funny in front of a police officer if that police officer has some sort of personal bias, or that police officer wants to hurt someone that day. And when I was watching all these videos on police brutality, I was like, you know what, man, there's a lot of people that just over exaggerate this, but at the same time, it is there. So no matter how you look at it, if you're a person, I believe in police. I believe in good protection, and I believe on not gun control, but I believe in certain restrictions to certain things, so that, yeah, people don't have easy access to just mass murder people, of course, but that's common sense. But the way that we are installing things, the way that we are making our people believe in themselves is just absolutely twisted, to the point where we have so much oversight, so much loss of personal responsibility, that the only responsibilities that we can show we have is what we learn off TV. Hey, let's go, have a beer. Let's go do this on the weekend and stuff like that. I bought a house. I got a car. I'm doing good. I got my license. I graduated. Those are wonderful things. But that's all you can do in your life? To the point where, like, all you can do in your life is just walk a straight line, nothing but indoctrination. You got no personal opinions, to the point where a system can just say, you can't have kids, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're diseased to yourself, you're diseased to your family, you can't do this with your dad can't do this with that, you can't have this idea, hey, you know what, in fact, you can't have this idea so much that we're going to control how you think, and if you show any funny patterns, it's going to get worse. And who are these people doing this to you? Who are these people that were putting people in concentration camps? Who are these people that were doing this to First Nations people in Canada, this whole time? And what in reality is the modern social services that deals with kids or deals with families? What is our modern investigation systems? Why are they so intelligent? How did it become so intelligent? Why did they got all these skills and stuff? Why does every time we try to watch a show, it has so much satanic and sexual innuendos, to the point where our kids are being indoctrinated, not just learning? And it's really disgusting, and we cannot even put our own input. YouTube comes out and we're not even allowed to share anymore. Now we're like some sort of criminals. Do we really have the freedom that they're claiming we have? Absolutely, if you just live free, question things. But at the same time, what I described is the reality of things. But while this illusion is still here, it's in a way a reality. This is the awakening of this matrix, whatever the heck you call it. Make it what you want to make it. Live your life. Like, I see this all the time. I'm a Christian, and I'm going to be scrutinized. I'm going to be called a conspiracy theorist for saying this. I'm going to get some dislikes. I'm going to get people who are like, you believe it when you see it. But I'm just going to say that, like, the kind of stuff that they're educating us with, it's really religious. It's satanic. It has its signs, its symbols, its messages, its own chants, its own rituals. And when I'm watching something with my family, and I'm watching a lot of this stuff, like, for example, watching certain shows on history, like on British history, to do with like Vikings and stuff like that, all the satanic innuendo that they got, normalizing a lot of also the modern movements, human sacrifice, pedophilia. And then I look at what a lot of this modern LGBT is, like drag children, oh man, the horrible things. And they're trying to normalize these things. This is where we got to begin to question. You know what I'm saying? These people are incriminating themselves. These people are showing themselves for what they are. And before they turn our countries into this idea, this extreme idea of a downfall of Babylon, or this idea that we are these over-consuming, pigs in the world, where our Western society is the offense to the world. Because that's what these people are turning us into. They're condemning us. They're turning our beautiful systems, the systems that a lot of us who are immigrants have come and made, and to believe that a lot of us who are past immigrants who hold these ideas of freedom and love, we are called racist. We are called fascist. So I begin to question, what in reality were we doing in those world wars? If in reality we overlooked communism and then we fought a Cold War, and what? Did we actually do anything against it? Or did we just install our own communism in a different way, our own corporate communism? And what in the future? When our systems are tired of the corporate way, what are they going to do? Fight against it with socialism and communism just like they're doing now? How ridiculous is that? Where we say that all our problems on the conservative side come from this boogeyman George Soros, or from the socialist side, the communist side, these people that are pushing this LGBT love and this all-inclusive society where it's so manipulated, calling us Hitlers or fascists or white supremacists, or whatever you can throw at each other. It's ridiculous. And to think that a person who's making a video like this, trying to push a positive message, is the one that gets censored. Can you believe that? How disgusting is that? That is the Canada. That is what our family has immigrated to. This is what we've become here. And in the past, making videos like this, just like, I've always had positive interactions, people who understand these things, people who share. These things don't just come out of nowhere, you know? And to have people in the past who attack you for it and got nothing to offer, and call you all sorts of names and things and trying to destroy your image simply for just sharing the truth. It shows you right there that there's people who benefit off your downfall. And not only that, these people who benefit off your downfall are creating minions, people who question their own people who are basically mentally ill, who are sick, who can't even help themselves, or are benefiting off this one way or another, or just manipulated and begin to question you who's trying to watch out for them too. You know what I'm saying? This whole idea of all-inclusiveness and this whole LGBT thing that Justin Trudeau has tried to do is a complete manipulation. You have installed so much fear, so much terror, so much trouble into such a beautiful nation that it is disgusting. And I'm going to tell you, we're sick of it. People want to be able to go out and be able to buy a piece of land in this beautiful country, or in the United States, or anywhere in our Western world. But this is where we're at right now. This is who we're speaking to. This is the population we're speaking to. We want to buy a beautiful piece of land, or at least a piece of land. And to think that we buy something for 20 grand, something small, just like maybe low tax, and to think that just to work on it in the middle of nowhere, what we have to endure just to build a little cabin, we can't even build things ourselves anymore. That's how disgusting it's becoming. To the point where if anybody wants to get out of a condo, out of an apartment building, and the oppressive life they have, where in such a cold nation, all you got is a freaking television set to keep you entertained in some liquor, in some super ass controlled environment, is absolutely inappropriate. That is not freedom. That is theft. That's communism already there, but in a worse way. That is like the capitalist nightmare that these communists try to talk about. It's the same bloody thing. It's the same pile of dung just placed somewhere else. It's just decorated. It has different kind of fabrics and fibers in it. It's the same smelling piece of crap. And to think that it's our youth that are getting hit with this the most. I just had a child. And to think that I gotta live in fear of that. And if I say I live in fear of that, I gotta live in fear of saying I live in fear. That is how horrible it is. And a lot of people who are just waking up to this don't really see it yet. But that's what's happening in the country you are immigrating to. The majority of the English world that you're immigrating in. And to think that in the UK, what started this beautiful Anglosphere of beauty, where we all have to return to this commonwealth, where we all have to return to the rule of the Queen here, where we go to court in these countries, or at least the countries that still have the British influence, to see a picture of the Queen and the very guy who said that if he could come back as anything, he would come back as a disease to kill the majority of the useless food eaters that are on this planet, us. That is what is influencing our very system coming from the UK, specifically in Canada. And do you think that like 90% of the population that is in a country like Canada is not even from that damn system? And I think that we're following laws. Do you think that these people are coming from that system and influencing our system and wanting troops, wanting for us to support their agendas and their innuendos and movements? No more. I don't want to live like that. No one wants to live like that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that kind of agree with it. Why? Because for now, it's benefiting their lives. No more. That is living enslaved. That is living in fear. That is selling out your fellow citizens. And that is putting us in a true environment of terror. And we got to begin to question, who are the real terrorists? If really this is the kind of environment that we live where we can't even share anymore. Question everything, ladies and gentlemen. That is my message. Question everything and be free. Quite honestly, be free. In the United States, everybody, all over the world, question everything. I began to make my videos specifically speaking to the United States. Why? Out of fear for speaking in my own country, in the own country that I immigrated to, and fear of having a knock on my door for simply expressing myself. No more. Everybody is beginning to wake up and see these things. And it's not just about wake up or this idea of wake up America, be a patriot. I'm talking about actually just seeing things with common sense. And if you want to be a Christian or a Muslim or whatever you want to be what you want to be, but have respect for others. But in our system, people who consider themselves European or whatever, or second generation Canadians, or now Canadians, or whatever you are, our systems, at least for our version, where I come from, it's a system. Just like if someone's from an Arabic world, they're going to say they're Muslim. I am Christian. I believe in Christianity. I still believe in my sweet Jesus. I still have my beliefs, and with those beliefs, I share the same common beliefs of family, of protecting ourselves against pedophilia, against negative movements, against criminal government. Am I wrong? Am I some sort of extremist here trying to Bible thump and oppress everybody to my ideology? I am basically just telling the truth about what is happening right now. This is what everybody can see. This is what everybody is talking about. And I'm going to tell you, Justin Trudeau, I don't know how this person is democratically elected in Canada. Just like in Spain, they got this Pedro Sanchez, which everybody voted out. Here we got this Justin Trudeau. This man is an absolute criminal. And it's, I personally at least understand that Justin Trudeau is just a head. He's just a representative to what's really actually behind all this. But I'm saying that we have to remove that representative. We have to remove that influence from the eyes of our peoples all over the West. We have to begin to remove this, and we have to begin to restore our country. And if someone is saying that we can't have certain beliefs or installing certain beliefs over other beliefs, well, they're installing some sort of satanic, like this idea of this new world order where all governments are going to be one, and it's like this world communism, this idea, this conspiracy theorist idea of everybody's going to get a microchip and the 666 stuff. You know, even as a Christian, I'm saying that that's a bit intense. But if you actually look at it, that's what these people are actually doing. It's not just the 666, Lucifer's coming. Just have a little bit of common sense if you don't believe in religion. If you don't have certain beliefs, just look at it. They are doing that. They totally are doing that. And not only with that idea and that funny notion of a new world order comes the real reality of concentration camps, of massacre, of using disease in our very science that we love to reduce our populations. You know what I'm saying? To socially engineer things, not just socially engineer, just engineer everything. See what I'm saying? It's not just about social engineering or genetic engineering or geoengineering. It's everything that these people are engineering and changing to the point where they want to have ownership over your body. You should look at some of these things that Monsanto was coming up. If you eat their food or if any of their seeds contaminate your crop, that your crop belongs to Monsanto. That a corporation can own your crop if your next door neighbor's crop that is now owned by this corporation happens to accidentally, by the wind, have a little piece of grain fall on your land. You know what I'm saying? Extreme. And then when we try to say this in the future, they try to shut that stuff down, conspiracy theory, this and this. Why? Why would they say that? Why would they make that effort? If this is free speech, if this is about sharing, why would they make that effort to do that if they weren't doing that? Why wouldn't they just let people be able to say it and be like, look how ridiculous that is? Really? No. They gotta prevent it. Why? Because that is what's happening. And not everything that someone on a YouTube channel says is happening. Of course not. What I am saying is happening is happening. Why? Because it's common sense or very laws. You can look it up yourself. You can see it for yourself. Not just use internet sources. Just look at how your very system is right now. If you're a Canadian citizen or you're in the United States, in specific states or specific regions of those states that are governed by these more socialist, more all-inclusive like things that you see all over Europe, all over Canada, all over the United States that seem to be the same. Where it's someone just like that Justin Trudeau guy, where it's someone just like what would have been that Hillary Clinton stuff. And I'm not gonna dig too deep into past and stuff like that, but to be suspected of child trafficking as a potential president of the United States, and to not be elected based on that, based on hard evidence coming from that, and for that person not to be in jail, you know, whether it's Trump or this or Obama or whoever the heck it may be or was, person like that should be in jail. And you know what I'm saying? It came out to just more than Hillary Clinton. It came out to a whole long list of presidents, including the beloved Obama, that a lot of these people who were pushing these modern agendas, specifically in Canada, loved. Bernie Sanders, I don't know much about this guy, but he is one of the figureheads of peace and love and for the students who teach these ideas of socialism. A social worker, a socialist worker. Community guidelines, community acceptance. Basically, it's what community? Community are raising your kids. MSNBC, certain spokespersons saying, you know, people got to lose this notion that kids belong to them, and they got to begin to accept that kids belong to entire society. Sorry if I quoted it wrong, you know, but that is along the lines, or even a little bit less blunt of what this person actually said. What this person actually said was actually put in worse terms, but to make sound acceptable and nice. And you got to begin to question, who is that person and why are they teaching us? Do we all share in this? If we all really have this freedom and this all stuff where we're inclusive and as well as diverse, why is this person telling us to do this? I'm from India. I'm from China. I am from somewhere in Africa or Latin America, or I'm from France, or I'm from Britain, or I'm from another part of the United States, or I'm from another part of Canada. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm from Scotland, and I'm not from the main area of the centralized UK, and I just happen to kind of be involved in this now because I moved down here. It's like, this is not what I believe in. This is not democracy. Neither do my neighbors believe in. But why are we being forced and manipulated into this? If we've said no, why are they beating around the bush to push it in other ways? This is not really democracy. This is more like using the idea of democracy to manipulate things. And if you in reality begin to look at what Parliament or Congress is, the stuff that rules a lot of the English world here, you'll begin to see that it's a lie. It's not democracy. And this whole idea of democracy that we're pushing is in reality just the excuse for this bureaucracy to install more bureaucracy. Where have we heard that before? Bureaucracy working hard to install itself. Basically, these people who are now the new kings and queens, who toppled the old kings and queens of the past, like the War of the Roses, to transform a parliament, a governmental body, a Congress, giving it back to a Senate, where these people from different regions can be kings and queens and call it democracy. And if they ever want their democracy to expand, what they do is they remove the real democracy, they remove the voice of the people, they even topple governments, and then they install their friends. They hire someone who works with them. Do you think that's democracy? Whose democracy is that? I believe it's some sort of democracy, but it's definitely not our democracy. And that's the very reason why the American Revolution was supposedly fought. And a lot of other revolutions were fought. But really, if you look at it now, what is in reality, what is ruling our systems right now that supposedly modeled themselves after these revolutions for freedom? That's why these videos don't go anywhere, because they get censored. Why? Because these videos resonate with people. If you can, share it. Watch how it goes nowhere. What I would do is I would archive these things and look at them for yourselves. Share them amongst your community, amongst your family first. And if this COVID stuff's not being lifted, demand for it to be lifted. Demand for you to be able to communicate within your communities. Demand for privacy. Is what I'm consenting to private. Don't consent to anything to do with the ministry of children or whatever and family in a place like Canada or the UK. Always ask questions, always share with community. When they say don't record police, record all interactions you have. Keep all receipts, all records, and begin to ask questions of where your money is going, how this is being managed, and what's going to happen for tomorrow. And I'm telling you, like I got a whole history of videos like this, telling people just to simply ask questions, and to think that that's what they're censoring. Why? Aren't they telling us to ask questions and be more free in that sense? Well, I'm doing it. Why am I being censored? Why am I being scrutinized like that? Why am I being called a conspiracy theorist for calling out the truth? For calling out things for what they are with the truth. More to say it that way. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize if this video took longer than you guys are comfortable in hearing. I apologize if I got any information wrong. Do I deserve to have my channel shut down? Do I deserve not to have a platform? As our news channels can systematically design stories that are false or missing so much information, or just complete misinformation, and for them to say that I cannot have a voice based on real suspicions and things that everybody can see. Begin to ask questions. Anyways, everybody, thank you for watching this video. God bless you. Take care until next time. Goodbye.